Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hi guys, Thomas here. Quite a bit nervous. It's my first message. As the English head coach, I'm at Wembley, where else? And there's also a reason to be a bit nervous. I think that's a good thing. I can promise you I'm very excited, I'm very honored, and I will do everything that we have qualify for World Cup first of all, and then we have a successful World Cup and try to get a second star on our shirt. All the best and see you soon in the stadium.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope I find you well. As I'm sure you are well aware, we have a new head coach. You heard him just there. Thomas Tuchel speaking on England's social media channel there. Now, I briefly covered this on the Greece-Finland review episode where I spoke with England fan CJ Joyner. It all happened so quickly. So this episode, I've got together three different voices to cast their opinions on the appointment. But before I get to that, don't forget you can follow the show on social media. Just search Three Lions Podcast on the likes of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Always happy to have a chat. Or on the email, threelionspodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you would like to support the show, there is the Ko-fi account. It all goes towards the monthly hosting of it. I upload the episodes to a podcast provider server, who then pop it out to the likes of iTunes, Spotify, basically anywhere that you consume it. It's on YouTube as well. It's also threelionspodcast.com. Basically, that costs me a monthly fee. I do it because I enjoy doing it. It's a hobby. It keeps me off the streets. But you're more than welcome to contribute in any way. It all goes towards that monthly cost, nothing more. I'd be more than grateful. Just head to kofi.com/Three Lions Podcast. ko-fi.com/Three Lions Podcast. Right. I think it's clear there are three camps of thought with regards to Tuchel being appointed. There's the overly excited yes camp, who believe it's a final winning step in the right direction. There is the no, I can't believe we've appointed a foreigner again camp, especially a German. And there is the camp of thought that thinks, do you know what, I'm not sure, but I'm going to give him a chance. And I think that is where I fall into. And I'll explain why. I wanted Lee Carsley to succeed. I really did. I thought that the succession from under 21 to seniors felt right. It made positive sense. I don't think there were the disconcerting noises around him when he was appointed 3 weeks after Gareth exited the door. Everyone was behind him. Everyone was generally saying similar things, similar positive things. Obviously, Greece happened. Even before that game, the noise was, well, this looks exciting. Then it went pear-shaped. His post-match interviews didn't come across as I think he wanted them to. And then all of a sudden, it felt like he'd shot himself in the foot. It then came to light that Tuchel had been appointed within the FA on the 8th of October, 2 days before that Greece game. And you begin to wonder, did Carsley know? Did he have an inkling? Did he have a feeling? It then felt that his heart wasn't in it for the long term. And then I began to think, can I get behind a guy who is thinking this way? I don't think I can. But I certainly don't bear him any malice. He's got 2 more games to get us out of a bit of a hole, so I'm behind him. So then you start to look around. Who were the other options the bookies all touted when Gareth left? Pochettino had gone from that list. Klopp had also gone. There didn't seem to be any more movement with Howe or Potter. Guardiola was still committed to Manchester City. So it really felt like Tuchel was the only real viable candidate, despite Mark Bullingham saying that they had spoken with approximately 10 people for the job, but obviously wouldn't divulge much more on it. I understand that. And I go back to the succession of under-21 manager to senior manager. This seemed to be the vision for the FA. Ever since they opened St George's Park, they forever went on about the England DNA. This to me feels like they've put that idea back on the shelf, parked it. But how do we find ourselves in this position? I think we have to look at both the FA and the Premier League. At present, the Premier League has 4 working English managers. Sean Dyche at Everton, Eddie Howe at Newcastle, who we've already mentioned, Russell Martin at Southampton, and Gary O'Neill at Wolves. Now, I had a quick look, and I think I've got this right. I believe there are only 46 working English managers across the 92 league clubs. You do the math, that's 1 out of 2. So, is it a surprise that once again we have a foreign manager at the helm? Is it the lack of investment in taking on coaches within England? I saw someone say how much it actually costs to gain your FIFA Pro licence. You have to be really dedicated to want to stay in the game in this capacity. Are clubs looking abroad? Are English clubs looking abroad for foreign managers because they're cheaper? I don't know that, to be honest. But it is a fact that no English manager has won the Premier League. You have to go back to 91-92 when Leeds won the old First Division under Howard Wilkinson, who incidentally had 2 spells as caretaker manager for England. At 80 years of age, I'm not sure he's up for the job full-time anymore. And you have to go back to 2008 when Harry Redknapp was the last English manager to win the FA Cup with Portsmouth. And 2004 when Steve McLaren won the League Cup with Middlesbrough. These are crazy stats. And again, is it any wonder the FA have gone foreign? But do they need to take a harder look at themselves? Maybe that ship sailed a while back when they hired Serena Weigmann for the Lionesses. There are, of course, no guarantees that England will win the World Cup in 2026. I mean, the damn thing has been expanded from 32 teams to 46. Whoever wins it will have to put the miles in. And there will be plenty of those come that tournament. But let's say we do get to the final. And wouldn't you know it, we face Germany in it. Doesn't matter what you say, there will be conflicting thoughts. Family and friends, they may send messages in jest to Tuchel. I know I'm not in that position, but if I was, I'd be torn. Of course you would be. You've got to be a special robotic type to put all that to one side. And as CJ said on the recent episode, no foreign manager has ever won a World Cup. It's clearly possible, but it's still a tough ask. And I know I mentioned Serena Weigmann, and I know many don't like the comparison between the two sides, but she's proved it's possible to win. For the first time in England's history, both our senior teams, men and women, are both being managed by foreigners. Or if you don't like that term, by people who are not native to England. I guess to keep the English perspective, Tuchel has brought with him Anthony Barry as his assistant, someone whom he's worked with previously It may appease some of those in the no camp, or not, I don't know. However, we are where we are. Nothing I can do about it. I still aim to follow the team, and it's not as if I spend my 90 minutes watching the man on the touchline. This is a man who has won the Domestic Cup in Germany, the League twice in France with PSG, which, with the greatest of respect, is probably not as hard as it sounds. Obviously, his major achievement here in England was with Chelsea, when he won the Champions League, beating Manchester City in 2021, then followed it up with the Super Cup, and then with the World Club Cup. Then he moved to Bayern Munich, he won the Bundesliga there, so there is no doubt he is a domestic winner. Can he transfer it to the international game? As I said on a previous episode, as and when things crop up, he will be scrutinised by our press. And you'd be a fool for thinking otherwise. His first press conference, of course, they all wanted something to write about. Be it the singing of the national anthem, who will be his captain, why is it just 18 months? They may seem silly now, they'll be silly in a year's time, but our press will ask them, and they'll ask them again and again, and they will dig in. It's going to be interesting to see how Tuchel deals with it. Anyway, it all begins on the 1st of January 2025, an 18-month contract that will see him through to the 2026 World Cup. Until then, I'm sitting on the fence. So this episode, I have found 3 different England fans, all with something to say on Thomas Tuchel. Sit back and enjoy. Okay, so the press conference to announce Thomas Tuchel has just finished. I'm delighted to welcome the Evening Standard's Dom Smith to the show. Dom, hello there.
Hello, how are we doing?
Very good, thank you. As I say, the press conference has just finished. England have a new head coach, Thomas Tuchel. Straight away went on the charm offensive, didn't he? He's saying all the right things. What's your initial reaction to how this sort of last, what is it? Well, it's not even 24 hours yet, but yeah, how have you taken to this news?
Yeah, I was asked earlier today whether it's a surprise, and I feel like what's most surprising about it is how well the FA have done it about keeping it under wraps. I mean, They obviously announced it this morning. We're speaking on Wednesday, and they said that he'd signed the contract on the 8th of October, which is last week, and of course before England's 2 internationals this month. So that's very impressive, and it also shows a kind of proactive streak, as well as exposing some of the maybe more harsh columns written about Lee Carsley for what they are. But maybe the less said about that, the better. It's a very intriguing announcement. I think the key line from it is that the FA want to win now, don't they? I mean, they feel that Gareth Southgate has taken England to a place that they haven't been for decades, and the last thing left is for England to actually get over the line and win a major honour, and that's certainly how it will feel to most England fans, and probably how it feels to most of the media as well. England obviously were a penalty shootout away from winning Euro 2020. They were, a few minutes away from taking the final of Euro 2024 to extra time. Obviously World Cup semi-finalists in the 2018 World Cup in Russia as well. So England just need to get over the line and to end 58 years of hurt. And so Tuchel, it's a controversial decision to go against kind of the grain and return to a foreign coach. But among foreign managers who are available, I think Thomas Tuchel, in terms of managers who seem willing to have taken that role on, he seems to me to be the best of the lot.
Yeah, the pool of candidates, be it English or foreign, wasn't particularly big. It has to be said, and I think we all know that. Of quality, I think should be added. There's this sort of assumption that he's going to get it done that he's going to get us over the line. There's no guarantees, are there? I mean, this could end in the pinnacle of English football, or it could end as a nightmare. There's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees in football. So it's quite a risk.
Well, the statisticians would say, however good England are compared to the other elite nations, it's more likely to end without silverware than with it. I mean, there are other nations in the world. There are other top nations that qualify for World Cups and Euros, and only one of them can win a tournament every 2 or 4 years. That's why England weren't able to that's why it's a little bit crude to say that England's time under Gareth Southgate is a failure, because someone's got to win it, but that means that 10, 15, 24, 32, 48 teams can't win it.
Yeah.
England are obviously still very much contenders to win the World Cup in 2026 and the Euros partly on home soil 2 years after that. But you're right. There's a very real prospect that it doesn't happen, and that actually going for a kind of win now approach and let's be honest, parting from the good work of St George's Park and trusting the English coaching process could kind of blow back in the FA's face. But that would, even if England don't win, that it feels like that would be a certain type of hindsight bias. And at this point in time, it's very understandable, I think, why the FA would approach Thomas Tuchel and would have hired him. Although we found out today, of course, that they had 10 candidates who they interviewed.
Actually, you mentioned 10 candidates, and Mark Bullingham said that when pressed on it, and then later on he said approximately 10 candidates. So it'd be interesting to know who they were. I think we could sort of whittle down the vast majority of them, but obviously he's going to claim confidentiality over them. That's obvious that was going to be mentioned. But with Tuchel, obviously he's the man there. He obviously has got experience with the current crop of England players, be it Jadon Sancho at Dortmund when he was there, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, Mason Mount at Chelsea, and then most recently Harry Kane at Munich. So it's not as if he's sort of coming in blind with on the players front, is it?
No, and he did say in his press release when he was announced as manager that he feels he has a special relationship with the game in this country. And I think he probably falls into the category of a lot of top managers who've tried their hand at coaching in England over the last couple of decades. In thinking just that, really. I mean, I think Pep Guardiola, if he was asked, would say the same. I think Jurgen Klopp would say the same. I think a lot of top managers who've managed on these shores in recent years, albeit mostly in the club game, would say that. And we know that it ended rather more magnanimously for Sven-Göran Eriksson, the late Sven-Göran Eriksson, as England manager than it did for Fabio Capello. But I think both of them would look back on their time at England fondly and in England fondly. And I expect Thomas Tuchel will do the same. He's a foreign manager, but he feels slightly more anglicised than certainly Capello among the foreign managers that England have had in the past. He's managed Chelsea, of course. He's managed, as you say, English players at Borussia Dortmund, as well as at Bayern Munich in the form of Harry Kane. He speaks very good English, but I also think he'll do the diplomatic side of the job very well as well. I mean, rightly or wrongly, and I'm not going to comment on which, there's a whole new episode of the podcast for that, I'm sure. Rightly or wrongly, the England job does take that. It does need an ability to speak on a wide, breadth of issues. And I think Thomas Tuchel will do that well. I'm not sure he'll do it as well as Gareth Southgate, but I'm sure that could be said of all approximately 10 candidates who were interviewed. Yeah. So he's got to get it right on the pitch, and he's got to strike the right tone off it. And I think the FA it's understandable why the FA think that he will do that.
Yeah, he did give praise to Gareth Southgate and indeed to Lee Carsley as well. He sort of said that he wanted to continue what Gareth Southgate had instilled at St George's Park and for England. So there is more to the England role, as we all know, than just picking a squad and playing 11 players from kickoff. So It will be interesting to see how he adapts this role, because I don't think anyone would disregard what Gareth had done with like off the pitch. But yeah, there is little things like that need to be sort of continued.
Yeah, I think maybe some more people would be willing to disregard what Gareth Southgate did on the pitch, but I think Thomas Tuchel's intelligent enough. He's a details man, and he's a football nerd enough to know to look back, and he will look back, I'm sure, as part of his remit now over England's tournament showings in recent years, and he'll look at how England scored. I think 9 of the 12 goals that they scored at the 2018 World Cup in Russia were from set pieces, and that should be seen as a coaching success, not as a weakness, because if you can't score from open play, and of course sometimes it's not possible in the biggest games of all, then you want to at least be able to have set pieces under your belt. And England had little moments like that under Gareth Southgate where they showed progress. Of course, winning 3 penalty shootouts out of 4 is another way for that. But Tuchel talked today about he believes that his club experience can help England get that little bit further. And he can add that little bit more, and you have to trust that he believes that, and you have to trust that the FA believe that he is the best candidate for that.
Yeah, well, it was confirmed that he's got an 18-month contract, and he made a bit of a joke saying that he's going to be working on his long-term game. Also said it was a step into the unknown, obviously, having never worked in the international games, more used to the day-to-day club side. How do you think he'll adapt to this sort of maybe not having so much to do during, well, from January to March?
I do think it will be a difficult thing for him, actually, because I'm not saying he won't cope with it, but I think he's the sort of personality that may struggle with it a little bit. We see a lot of managers who lead the top nations in international football are often managers who are at the end of their international career, who are at the end of their managerial careers, or who are right at the beginning and maybe less experienced. Whereas Thomas Tuchel is, you could really say, in the peak. He's also at the peak of world management. He is a world-class coach. And actually, I think he becomes, by my reckoning, potentially the only world-class coach in international football. I mean, honourable mentions would have to go to Deschamps, who's been there since 2012 with France, of course. Maybe Julian Nagelsmann at Germany, who's 37. But I think he probably becomes the only world-class manager in international football. Maybe Pochettino for the United States deserves a mention. But I think he will struggle with not being able to enjoy the kind of day-to-day buzz of club management, which we know is such a big contributing factor as to why Pep Guardiola is probably going to stay in the club game, and why so many top managers have never tried their hand at international management. I think that probably explains why Carlo Ancelotti has been a club manager, and probably Jose Mourinho as well. So it will be difficult for him, because there are responsibilities like turning up and at schools and things like that, and meeting dignitaries, which you'll have to kind of get up to speed with. But that's part of the role now. Yeah.
One other thing, he's appointed Anthony Barry as his assistant coach. He's got that English person at his side, which is a good appointment. I have to be honest, I don't know a great deal about him. What's your awareness of him?
Well, you don't need to know a great deal about him, because luckily Thomas Tuchel does, and had him at Chelsea as a coach, and took him with him to Bayern Munich. Fought quite hard, actually, to take him with him to Bayern Munich. He's seen as being exactly what Mark Willingham described him as today, which is one of the most exciting English coaches around. And I think if Thomas Tuchel was bringing a coach with him like that, I think it could be quite similar to the situation that Gareth Southgate had with Steve Holland. I think Steve Holland is, had been with Southgate before, and you'd expect whichever job Gareth Southgate takes next, he'll probably at least consider bringing Steve Holland with him. So I think Barry is very much Tuchel's right-hand man, and has been instrumental in sort of set pieces and things like that.
Exciting times ahead, I think. Dom, as always, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, we can read you online and in print over at the Standard, can't we?
Certainly can. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's cross to Germany now. And who better to speak to than friend of the show, Marco Kühnauer. He's our German England fan. Marco.
Yeah, a big and massive hello to all my English brothers and sisters, and to you, Russell.
Oh, thank you very much. It's always good to hear from you. Always good to chat with you. Obviously, spent a bit of time with you over the summer in your homeland in Germany for the Euros. Enjoyed that very much, and for your hospitality.
Oh yeah, it was a very, very, very exciting time, and it was really brilliant. With a little bit of problems with the traffic system, especially in Gelsenkirchen. Yeah. But I think in general you can say it was a very, very good time. Unfortunately, not with a trophy in our hands. But now 2026 is coming up, the World Championships, and so I think the next chance is there to get the trophy and hold it in our hands, in our English hands.
That's right. That's the aim. It's the World Cup 2026 in Canada, United States and Mexico. And, well, this is the story. To take us there, we now have a German manager. For the first time in England's history, a German manager. Obviously, we've had a Swedish manager and an Italian manager. But this time it's a German manager. He's a man from your homeland. I'll get your thoughts on him in a moment. But what is he thought of back in Germany? How highly is he regarded in Germany?
Yeah, he's highly regarded in Germany because he was a coach of Bayern Munich, and everyone knows what he reached with Chelsea winning the trophy with Chelsea, and he was the coach of Bayern Munich. Yeah, and in his first season, he gets the championship here in Germany, and he is very highly regarded here in Germany as a coach for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, can he transfer that domestic success that he's had with those club sides, be it Dortmund, PSG, Chelsea and Bayern Munich? Do you think he'll be able to transfer that success to the international side and take England to a World Cup final?
It's a very, very good question, and it's very difficult to answer to your question. In my personal opinion, it will depend on the perhaps first 1, 2 or 3 games when he's the new coach of England. So I think he will be as a coach at the Nations League Greece game, and I think it depends on the start. I think when the start is a brilliant start with victories or wins over Greece and so on, I think this could be a good story, and he could transfer his knowledge and his attitude to the English team. But it will be very difficult because it's a very small line on which he's walking on. On the left side, the ground; on the right side, the success. And a little wind is coming up, and perhaps everything is over before it begins. So it's very difficult to answer the question. We will see.
Yeah, I just want to make you aware. He actually starts his tenure as England manager at the beginning of January, so he won't actually be in charge for the Greece and the Ireland game, but he will be in charge for the World Cup qualifiers that will begin in March time. But yeah, I take your point that it will be those first couple of games that we will get an indication of how he's going to take England forward. But here's the question, and I've seen you talk about it on various other outlets. What are your thoughts as an England fan of a foreign coach taking the England job?
Yeah, my thoughts are I'm not against a foreign coach for the English national football team. that I wanted to say before I come to the main point. But to take a German one as a coach of the England national football team, in my opinion, is a no-go, because there is a big rivalry between England and Germany in relationship to football, not to the people, to the German ones and to the English ones, but to the football. It's the biggest, one of the biggest rivalries in football history, and it makes such a crackling atmosphere when we are playing against Germany. And now we have a German coach from our biggest rivalry country. And in my opinion, it's the absolute wrong decision to take a German one as an English coach. That's my personal opinion, and I'm convinced that it's a mistake.
I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I've already said at the beginning of the episode, if England were to get to the World Cup final in 2026 and Germany happened to be the opponent in the final, surely he would have conflicting thoughts, wouldn't he?
I think so. He will have conflicting thoughts. And I tell you, it isn't the same as if it would be an English one, an English coach, because two nations, big, massive nations, are playing against each other, hopefully in the final of the World Cup. And it's an absolute disaster that then perhaps we have a German coach. It's a no-go, because the atmosphere will be another one, as if we have an English one, because then England is playing against Germany. And even if we have a coach from Denmark, or we have a coach from Sweden, or from Spain, from the Spanish ones, or Italy, everything is fine, but not a German one. It's a no-go. It's absolute. It's for me, it's unbelievable. Yesterday, I heard it from a mate of mine, and I couldn't believe it. I thought he was joking, I thought he was joking. We have such a big history in matches against Germany, and we had massive tournaments, and we have massive matches here. I can remember to Berlin, 2016, I think, when we were beating Germany in the Olympia Stadium. And no, with a German coach, it's not the same from the feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask the obvious question, but I know, having met you, how anglicised you yourself are. But people are going to say, well, hang on a minute. You can't have a German manager managing the England national side because it just doesn't feel right. But someone's going to say, hang on, Marco, you support England. How is that okay for you to follow them but not to be the manager?
Yeah, it's a very good question. But the answer is, I'm only a small fan who is allowed to follow the England family and the English team, and I'm not the manager of the team. And if they would ask me, do you want to manage the English national football team? I would say, hey, it's a great honor, but no, it must be an English one. Yeah. I would say no, it's not. It would be not possible for me, because I am not an English one. I am a German one who follows England and who supports England, and I'm proud to be part of the family. But it's not okay for me to be the manager, the coach of the England team. We are representing the whole nation. The whole nation is standing behind the English football team when we are playing in tournaments. Everyone, from a little child to an old one, to an old granddaddy or grandma, and it's not possible that there's a German and it's alive and coaching the England team. It's a no-go.
Yeah. No, I get you. I understand what you're saying there, and having seen your England tattoos, I don't think it's something that Thomas Tuchel has got. That's something that you do have.
I don't think so that he has English tattoos. And the big question will be, is he singing the national anthem? That will be very big question, very interesting.
Well, it's obviously a question that has been asked in the press conference earlier today, and as despite what many people have differing views on the national anthem, he has said that he is aware of the connotations of singing it or what has happened previously, but he's yet to make his mind up on it. He's got what, 5 months before his first game to decide on that front. But the German national team has never had anyone other than a German manager in charge of their national side. So, which is obviously probably a source of pride for the German public. But what do your people, your work colleagues, your friends or family, what have they said about a German managing England? What's the media over there saying?
They can't believe it like me. I spoke this day at my office to very football interested colleagues, mates, and they said, Marco, what's going on with England? What's wrong with England? They asked me the question this morning, what's wrong with England to take a German one? It's unbelievable. They also said they couldn't believe it. They thought I'm joking. Also, the press was joking, but no, it's a reality. And they said the same. It's a no-go. Yeah, they can't believe it. They can't believe it.
Who would you have liked to have seen as the England manager to ultimately replace Gareth Southgate? Were you happy with Lee Carsley, or was there anyone else that sort of took your fancy?
I think when I am correct informed that Gerrard was also in the ring, or Lampard or Gerrard, one of both.
I think Lampard was probably more than Gerrard.
I think Lampard, and that would be my choice because he's really, really cool and a gentleman and an Englishman, and he was representing England in a very good manner when he was playing for England. So that would be my choice. Or as an example, David Beckham, old players, who had a lot of experience with England, and the main important thing, who has the spirit and who feels the spirit, what's going on when England is playing in tournaments. Yeah, you must feel it. You must have the feeling. Yeah, and that's what I mean. And this could be only when you're English you can feel it. Yeah, yep. I think so. Yeah.
So obviously by saying that, we're saying then that Thomas Tuchel isn't going to feel that England spirit then.
Yeah, we don't know if he will feel it, and we will see. And one thing, what I wanted to say, all the English fans or all the English football fans who now say, "Oh, Tuchel is a very good coach, and he brought the trophy to Chelsea and to PSG and to Bayern Munich," they will stand behind him as long as he's successful. Yeah. But in the moment, in the moment when he's struggling and England is losing 1 or 2 or 3 games in a row and is playing not in a very good manner, they will say, go home to Germany. It was a big mistake. And then the press in England is eating them, is eating him. Then everything is over. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, it could well happen. It could well happen. We'll have to wait and see. It's certainly an interesting time for the England national team. Marco, always great to speak to you. Are you up for the next couple of games that England play, Greece and then Ireland? Are Are you coming to see those?
Yeah, unfortunately not, because I have very important private reasons. We have a surgery in November here in our family. And so I have enough caps so that I would have got a ticket for Greece, but I'm waiting for next year, and hopefully in March, when we are playing the World Cup qualification, I will go to the games in next year for sure.
Fair enough. Well, I wish you all the best for next month, and yeah, let's catch up again in the new year 2025 and see how things go on.
Thank you so much, and it's always a big honor for me to be part of your podcast, Russell.
Thanks to Marco there. Now, for our final fan of the show, let's go for a different angle this time. I'm delighted to welcome England and Chelsea fan Kunal Sapat to the show. Kunal, hello there.
Hello, mate. You
well?
All good?
Yep, all good, all good. You're a Chelsea fan. You're home and away regularly for Chelsea. You've seen the good times. I'll say there haven't really been many bad times, I don't think, as a Chelsea fan. Has there really?
Well, I mean, not really, but obviously, last couple of seasons haven't been the best, but ups and downs.
Yeah,
I've seen it all. So yeah,
you've seen the good times. 2021. Take us back to them. Thomas Tuchel, he replaced Frank Lampard as Chelsea manager. He came from PSG. I think it's probably safe to say went on to give you some of your best times as a Chelsea fan. Champions League final, Super Cup, World Club Cup. What was it like back then?
I mean, it was odd time because we'd just come out of COVID, and obviously we weren't at the football when there was a change in management, and like he came in on the back of a really bad month or so we'd had. And he'd had a good record at PSG before, and he'd done some good things in football. Like he was a good manager, but when he came in, it was whether he's just going to be one of those that comes in and doesn't quite do it at Chelsea, or will he hit the ground running? And he pretty much hit the ground running. I mean, a few results here and there, not great, but he turned that season around. And the last few months of the season, well, he came in late January, I think, in 2021. And then the way he turned it around and the way the season ended, it just completely changed it. And he pretty much got the players working well, got us playing some of the best football we had, for a while. And it was he just did a good job from the get-go when he came in.
What's his ethics to transforming that season around? What sort of person did you take him to be? A hard worker, a man management? What sort of things did you think, actually, this guy has got it?
I think he worked well with the players, to be honest. I think he just got them working to the best of their ability, and the way it works for them. I mean, we had a mix of players. We had expensive signings, and we had younger players who'd come in through the ranks. We had the little likes of Thiago Silva, who would, when he's at that age, you wouldn't expect him to have been as crucial as he was, but he got him working. He even got some good performances out of some players who had been a bit hit and miss at times, like Timo Werner. He got the England players as a crucial part of that squad as well. That led us on our way to the Champions League final in Porto, and he actually managed to outsmart Pep of Man City, who everyone expected to sort of dominate the Champions League final, but not just that time. I think we had them in the semi-final before in FA Cup or something, if I'm not wrong. And the performances he got the players performing, he just seemed like man who knew how to get the best out of certain players and the way they work best, and it seemed to have worked.
Yeah. What about sort of off the pitch, his personality? What did you take from that? Is he, I don't know, nice guy?
Well, never met him myself, but he from his interviews and from what we saw as fans from the outside, he seemed like someone who took good leadership. The best example I would say was when he sort of took the responsibility of the club, like when we were going through the period when there was the sanctions at Chelsea, and even things like he did saying comments like he doesn't care, he'll just drive a bus to wherever we were playing in Europe at that time, and basically taking the spotlight of other things to just manage the club in difficult times as well. Yeah. So that he showed good leadership off the pitch as well, and managing the interviews and everything. And he did have a bit of fight about him as well. He was passionate at times. Crucial moments in big matches and everything. I don't think he'll shy away from big occasions when it comes to big England games and everything.
It was that Chelsea time when you were sanctioned. It was fair to say it was a bit of a turbulent time. But I remember I was just thinking about it earlier. There was the handshake with Spurs manager, wasn't it, Antonio Conte at the time?
That's right. Yes,
which picked up quite a bit of media attention. I think he was fined for that, wasn't he? But he certainly got a bit of fire about him.
Well, that's what I mean. When he wants to, fight for this team, or when he wants to show a bit of passion, I don't think I'll shy away from that. But then he can take good leadership and get the best out of people. That's what we saw when he was in charge of us, and probably there were some ups and downs, probably more so towards the end of his reign as Chelsea manager. But to be honest, things got worse after he went. He did a great job, and you could tell what we missed when he went, because he just got the best at that time.
One thing I did hear, obviously I'm not a Chelsea fan, so I don't know the full ins and outs, but what I've read is when it did end, it sort of came about because did he have some fallings out with players and a disagreement with the Chelsea chairman?
Well, that's, again, like yourself, that's what rumours a lot of us supporters heard at the time. Well, he'd fallen out with the owners for whatever personal reasons or whatever things there may have been. He may have fallen out with players, but we will never know the true ins and outs. But but it was quite apparent that there had been some falling out with the owners at that time, and for him to leave the position so soon after the new owners had come in, there was definitely some big sort of disagreements there, but it's difficult to know what exactly went down at that time.
Yeah, well, that's football. Happens at plenty of clubs, doesn't it? But he did leave Chelsea after 100 games, and to his credit, 60 wins, 24 draws, 16 defeats, and apparently that's a 60% win record, which is the fourth highest by a Chelsea manager after 100 games. So, obviously he's won the trophies there. He is a winner. It's all at domestic level. Can he transfer this to international level? What's your thoughts on him going towards England?
Well, he is obviously proven at domestic level that he can get results, but then it's a different kettle of fish when it's going to international football. Obviously, he won't be working with the players day in, day out, but you'd like to think, his ethos and his ability to work with his players would still transfer across to the international scene. And one thing I'll take from him is he does know how to manage, big games, and he's a proven winner in those sort of occasions. So when it does come to the crunch games of a major tournament, I'd like to think that he wouldn't fall under that pressure, and he would know how to manage those situations. Obviously, it's his first time at international level, so it's a new area for him as well. But we can only wait and see what goes ahead with this.
Fair to say that you are fairly confident and you're behind him as England manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident he will do well for us. He can make winners out of the huge talent we have. He's worked with some of these players already. Harry Kane worked with him at Bayern Munich most recently as well, and I've heard he only had good things to say about him as well. Yeah. And a lot of the players will take to his way of working, and I think he'll do good, but nothing's for certain. We can only speak again in a couple of years' time after we've either won the World Cup or we're in the same position again. So I'm confident he'll do well. Whether he goes and gets his way and hits the ground running straight away, I'm not sure, but I'm sure he'll work well with the players. I mean, I wouldn't have thought of him being in the choice of managers initially. Obviously, recently his name was mentioned a lot more. Yeah. Obviously, in an ideal world, if there were an English manager, with the appropriate talent and experience and everything, would be the best thing for England, going forward, or, in an ideal world. But at the end of the day, does it really matter if you've got a proven winner who can get the best out of this huge talent and hopefully go on to win something? So, I think it'll be a change, and I think I'm confident he'll do a reasonably good job.
Lovely. Interesting times ahead. Kunal, I look forward to chatting some more over a couple of beers about it all. We'll sort of progress it as it goes along and see how it all fares out. But thank you very much for joining us. Always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, see you then.
So there we have it. 3 different opinions from 3 different England fans. My many thanks go to Dom Smith, Marco Kühnauer and Kunal Sapat. All really appreciated. Plenty for me to consider whilst I'm sitting on the fence. Maybe it's helped you in your thoughts. And it is certainly one of the biggest talking points in England's recent history, I think it's fair to say. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said at the beginning, you can follow the show on social media. Let me know your thoughts. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. So until the next time, take care. Cheers.